very hard to recruit agents that are doing north of 10 or 15 million a year, north of 30 or 25 transactions a year, if you give any appearance of being a competitor of theirs.
Sponsored by Spyglass Realty. If you're an agent listing in another city or state, we will take great care of your clients and pay a referral fee. If you're an agent in Austin that's thinking of making a move, let's talk.
All right. I am very excited to have Anthony Lamacchia here with Lamacchia Real Estate. And I known Anthony for a long time. I'm a big follower of his. We actually subscribe to his training with his Crush It in Real Estate course, and been super impressed. You've been a big mentor for me and someone that I love to follow. And I want to kind of start with telling our listeners, where are you at right now with your business?
So as of this morning, we have 421 agents. We have already closed $1 billion of business year to date. We're on track to close $1.5 billion. We closed 179 million in the month of August. And we're rolling pretty strong. Not quite as good as we would have been this year if it wasn't such a late start. Remember, we're mainly up here in New England. We did open in Florida last year, but we're mainly in New England. We're more affected by seasonal shifts, and the year just started late because of COVID. But we're still going to hit about $1.5 billion this year, and I'm pretty pleased with that, considering we got to $1 billion last year. So we're going to end up about 50% growth.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And so you're in how many states, actually?
We're actually licensed in 6 states. Massachusetts, New Hampshire is where we do most of our business. Southern New Hampshire, Mass being the most, and then Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine. Those states are more just contiguous. The agents that we have that live on the borders and things like that. And then in Florida, we're open in Fort Lauderdale. We do business West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, down to Miami-Dade County. And I'm happy. We're closing 10, 20 transactions a month down there. And it's been a year, and we're working hard to find an office. We're going to open a storefront here in the next couple of months. That's a big goal on my plate. We have 3 offices to open between now and the end of the year, 3 branches.
Wow. That's awesome. So take me back and I want to start with your history. Like, what did you do before you got into real estate?
I grew up working with my dad in the landscape construction business. I was very fortunate to be exposed to business at a very young age. Small business, but it was, business. And my dad had the landscape construction business, and my grandfather was an accountant. And I mean, they pretty much just made me into a business maniac. And, my dad says I give them too much credit, but I wanted it. I wanted to learn. I wanted to improve. I was always interested and always impressed with it. And then when I was about 23 years old, after getting out of high school, I didn't go to college. I wanted to get into real estate because I was already buying properties and flipping, and I was a landlord by 21. And I just said, well, I think I'd be pretty good at this real estate agent thing. Let me try getting a license, and knew a lot of people around town and just got started, and then hit the ground running, like television advertising within a year and a half, and the rest is history.
That's pretty funny. I actually have a very similar trajectory. I went to a couple semesters of college, got a job as a salesperson, got into, started a business with my sister, and got into real estate because I was doing buy and holds and flips. And when I went to sell one of my holds, the real estate agent I had was horrible, and that launched me into becoming a real estate agent. So when you first started, you started with a big brokerage or what?
I was at Remax, a company I very much respect today. But I was at Remax, and I had a business partner, and then we had an assistant pretty quickly because I was still trying to work in my dad's business and work in real estate. I did that for about 20 months. And then my ex-business partner at the time was still building homes. So we had this woman, Sarah, who's our vice president of finance today, was assisting us, and we hit the ground running pretty quick. And then late 07, 08 came, and it was like, whoa, what's going on here? But we found our footing and adjusted, got into short sales foreclosures, and that was a good portion of our business for more than a few years. I mean, that was an unusual time in the history of real estate.
Yeah.
That one will go down in the real estate history books for hundreds of years. And we got quite good at it, and that was an advantage. And, if you remember right, in those days, if you weren't doing a short sale or a foreclosure, you were still doing business, but you weren't really growing.
Right.
We grew straight through. And just kept building up from there. We, we had like a small team, then we were a power team. And then 14 and 15 is when I made real changes. I bought out my business partner and converted us to a brokerage model.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me take you back a little bit because, I had a little bit of a similar thing was when the market crashed. I knew a couple of foreclosure agents and I wanted to get into foreclosures. I actually got in a little bit before it crashed. And I got into it by going to these conferences and networking with different agents. And, people later ask, how did you get into it? It's like networking at the bar at a conference for the foreclosure. Was that the same thing for you?
So funny you say that. We were probably at the same conferences. I don't know if we ever met. We probably did.
Yeah.
But I used to come down. There was a time I was coming to Dallas every 4 to 8 weeks for like a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Just making contacts. I knew every nice restaurant down. There's some great restaurants down there, by the way.
Yeah.
But I went to 5-Star, Rio Con or something.
Yeah, right.
Rio Mac, and that was in Cali. And I went to everything. But I'll tell you something, Ryan, I still do that today, but not in that space. I stick with Inman, Risk Media, Chet Black's events. Now we put on our own events. We did one, I think we did one in Florida, our Crush It in Real Estate event. We had 130 people 2 Fridays ago down there.
Yeah.
Events, and you what you said is so true. And all the listeners that are new in the business, most people don't get it, but they need to get it. You will learn more in the bar room, more in the restaurants, more in the hallways by meeting people and just networking with others than you will anywhere else. I mean, look at you and I. We're both part of Wailopo. We're going to their conference. I'm sure you're going in the spring. It just got postponed. But you and I, we had met before, but we didn't really get to know each other well.
Right.
And I think you were already on our training, if I remember right. And we both.
No, I think I met you at Inman because you had spoke at the Indie Broker thing, and I was there, and then we had dinner with Howard Tager, and he's going to be on our broadcast. But we had dinner there, and that's kind of where we kind of solidified the relationship. And I found out what you're doing. Of course, I'm a Chef Black client as well, so.
100%, and that's something that people really underestimate is the value of these. I mean, I'm just fascinated how cheap agents are. And team leaders and broker owners were like, well, I don't, should I be spending that $2,000? I'm like, you're happy to give Zillow $2,000. Like, go learn how to build your business, so, but that was a fun dinner that night, by the way.
Yeah, no, that was great. And I always say Wailopo and some of the ones I've been to are really good. For Inman, I barely make any of the talking events. I love Inman, but I get what I mean by that. I get more value out of meeting the people I've known for years, in the halls and in the hotel bar, So when you started a team, before you got into selling, before you got into doing your transitioning to a brokerage, how many agents were on your team? How many did you take with you?
So I was at Realty Executives. We were Remax, then Realty Executives, and then we went on our own. We probably had 4 full-time staff members. That was in February 2009. And we didn't have, we had a couple, maybe 2 that were licensed agents, but literally we were selling 400 homes a year. So it was me, my ex-business partner, maybe 2 or 3 staff, 2 agents, literally selling 400 homes.
Yeah.
And we just kept revving it up. And it's so funny. I look back and I'm like, at that time, I wasn't like I didn't have this perfect plan, but I knew I was going to grow. I just didn't quite know how. And, we just built up from there. And then in 2012, after 5 years of just kicking ass with listings, I was like, all right, I got to do better with buyers and I got to learn how to convert buyers. We just got to do better. Started focusing on it, hired more agents, and then just built up. It's just snowballed. And then 2014, remember, we owned the brokerage. We went on our own in 2009. I bought my ex-business partner out in 2014. And then in 15, I converted us out of being a team model. If you go look on Real Trends, I was ranked every year from, I think, 2010 to 15. And then we didn't submit for team rankings anymore. And I disappeared off Real Trends for 3 years.
Yeah.
And now we're back in there every year. We're top 500 brokerage. I believe we were top 250 last year. We'll obviously do better than that this year. But I just totally said, I'm not doing a team anymore. We're focused on brokerage. We're going to offer all the same things that teams offer and more, and give agents a legitimate place to ramp up their business. That was a big thing for me because I knew with the typical team model, there's some team leaders like yourself that are better at it than others, but typical team model, it's hard to keep agents more than 3 or 4 years because they're going to build up their own name. They're going to fly away. And I didn't want them to fly away. So I knew if I created my own model, I could create a runway that agents could stay with us long term.
Well, so it's funny you say that because I'm actually not a team. Okay. We have what I call a leads team.
Yeah.
And this is interesting discussion because a lot of our mutual friends and acquaintances and people we admire in the industry are all about the team. Whereas I consider myself a hybrid. And when I hire agents, because I'm really good at getting agents from a team and say, you take my leads because you have a hole in your pipeline. But if you want to go independent and stay within our brokerage, so is that the same thing that you guys have?
So we did just what you're describing for 2 years, and it still wasn't having the impact I was looking for. Agents that weren't on the so-called leads team, they felt like they weren't a part. I also still found it very difficult to recruit top agents. Now we're a full-fledged brokerage. I mean, we're recruiting agents that are doing 10 to 40 million all the time. I mean, literally like endlessly. And agents that are doing 0 to 10 million, but it's very hard to recruit agents that are doing north of 10 or 15 million a year, north of 30 or 25 transactions a year, if you give any appearance of being a competitor of theirs. And that's stuff that I just eliminated. We in MLS, the deals go under their name, and we just made the changes, and it worked for us.
Well, let me be clear on that. So we don't, they all the agents, their deals go under their name. Okay.
Yep.
We have a leads pool that agents can dip into as they want. And
Yep.
so agents they're starting out and within year 1 to 3 that they come to get into that leads pool. So when it's really not a team, but if they're taking those leads, they have to take part of leads program. Yeah. So
it's what you're describing is what we're doing.
Okay, good. Okay, it's
the same. We're just careful with the word team. We found that to be a little bit problematic with respect to recruiting, with respect to the agents. So we just got rid of the name and we just call it lead products because really leads are a product and we have all different kinds: online buyer leads, seller leads, relocation. We do a lot in the relocation space.
Yeah.
And so now we call it lead products and it works.
Yeah. And I tell people, like, your goal with me is to not take leads, but we have them,
Remember 5 minutes ago when I said some people are better at it than others? I said, you're one of them. That's what I meant. You're doing exactly what we're doing. And that's precisely, and for the team leaders listening, a lot of team leaders, they got it in reverse. They think they're going to keep somebody under their thumb forever. And I look at it the opposite way, in the same way you do. I tell agents, listen, use our leads for 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years, whatever you need to ramp. But your goal is to get yourself off the leads and flying on your own. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's so good to hear because you get conflicted sometimes when people are like, oh, you got to do the team thing. You got to do the thing. I don't want to have, my goal is to get to 75 agents. We have 65 right now, 10 more. I don't want 75 people to have to manage on our team. I want 15 to 20 and the rest top producing agents.
So let me tell you how we do it. And it's just a numbers thing, right? And your thinking is identical to mine. 2013, 14, 15, right around there. 15. Let me think. We had 75 agents by the beginning of 16, right? Now we have 421 as of this morning. So now out of the 421, there's about 75 that are receiving some type of lead products from the company.
Right. Okay.
So it's probably 12%, 15%.
Gotcha. And then when it comes to for team leaders, when it comes to leadership, and I know you've done a really good job of that. How do you recommend they structure their leadership organization?
Well, I think that different models work for different people. From our perspective, we have 6 vice presidents in the companies. One's vice president of finance, vice president of operations, vice president of marketing, vice president of sales, vice president of business development. Business development is essentially recruiting, retention, and onboarding. Sales is the person who, Dave, he was at that dinner.
Yeah.
Dave oversees all our lead funnels, training, helping agents ramp up their own businesses. He does the trainings. He's great. So he's the VP of sales. Then we have a vice president of property acquisitions and development that oversees our development company and property management. So he's a little bit separate. He's not working in the brokerage as much anymore. The business development person is very key. They're all key.
Sure.
But business development, recruiting, retention, onboarding, marketing is all marketing channels that you can imagine. The VP of that oversees the marketing for all the companies, including Crush It in Real Estate. And, that's national. So that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Then there's someone under her that is soon to be the director of marketing. She's manager now, but she's being promoted. So don't air this in the next week.
Yeah.
But she oversees Lamacchia Realty marketing, and it's a hefty. I mean, we're spending a couple $1 million a year in marketing.
Wow.
Television, billboards, easily.
Yeah. So, and I read one of an article. I think it was RAS, REM. I forget one of them. Anyway, an article they wrote about you. Where you realized that putting a training platform was going to be essential for recruitment. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the Real Trends article that came out last week. And she quoted me saying how training really, I didn't realize 7-8 years ago what an impact on recruiting it can have. And when I look at training customers like yourself, the people who really leverage the training and require their new agents to come in to go through it and use it the same way that we do here, it helps them recruit a ton. Because you got to think of it this way. Human beings as a whole, they want direction. They want direction.
Yeah.
They won't, it's like kids. Kids don't say, I want structure, I want direction, but they do. So when somebody's new at something or even mediocre at something, they love, okay, what do I do? Oh, I do that. Then I do this. You got to realize, and if there's team leaders listening, you need to realize most people aren't like us. You're a self-starter. I'm a self-starter. If I know something, even 40%, if I have 40% knowledge in something, I will just say, screw it, I can do it. I'll work hard, I'll learn, and I'll motor my way through it. Most human beings, if there are 10 things to know and they don't know all 10, they get all screwed up in their head. They lose confidence. So that's why our training has been so critical. And that's why we vertically integrated it to offer it across North America. We've got training customers literally all over Canada. I think you know that. But it's the same training that we're offering here in the company.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a requirement for anybody that's within, like, in other words, for us, in order for someone to take leads, they have to go through your training for it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I bag a $15-20 million agent, I'm not going to say, we have to go through that.
Yeah. It's a little bit different, but what we do with those, so that's a very good conversation to have. So what we do with those is we don't require them to go through it. They are required to go through orientation. Orientation is two days to be in the company. You have to go through that. And then we just tell them, hey, this is here. We're a buffet. Take whatever you would like. You will find that it will help you. The way we get them in, Ryan, is every Wednesday we have training at our company. So we had it today. That's why I got a little fumbled with my schedule. But we have it every week live. And I do trainings. Dave does it. They start to come to 1 or 2 or 3 of those. They start hearing us talk about the online training center. And then all of a sudden they say, hey, how do I get access to that? Oh, you already remember an orientation day? We went over it. Oh, yeah. And that's how we find they start using it. But you're right that it's not the same conversation. You're not saying to a $20 million a year agent, you have to do this and that. Well,
and so what we do with our veteran agents is we have a once a month 2-hour meeting where we cover the, higher level stuff, like, okay, backup addendums are really hot right now, or here's what we're doing, multiple offer situation. Here's how we're getting people to not go to iBuyers, because now we have a solution to source iBuyer offers for everyone. And that's been real helpful because it's the stuff that they're not getting, from just like listening to a YouTube or whatever, a podcast or whatever. And it's more of a higher level.
And I screwed something up. So where we will demand that they do it is if they want to get on leads.
Yeah, right.
So when they want to get on company leads, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They got to go through the training program and complete it. They have to go through lead onboarding day. We actually have a class, Ryan, every 3 weeks that's put on by Dave and our inside sales manager. And they go through, okay, since you're going on leads, here's the expectations. Here's how it works. Let's go over the tech again. They have to sign an addendum full of expectations and understandings. And I'll tell you, when we implemented that probably 2 or 3 years ago, it made a big difference. We have a specific addendum. We walk people through it. It's helpful.
So you have that, and that's a live in-person class, right? Because I know you have everything recorded, and you could go through that. Why is that? Is it live? I mean, I think I know, but I'm just curious to hear what you say.
It's nothing like in person. And our attitude is, if you're not committed enough to come in from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., then we're not spending money on you on leads. And I don't care. I'm telling you right now, we have agents that do 10 million and has to get on leads. We're like, no, you got to go through. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And now we've reached the point they don't even question. They know, they can tell that we're consistent and we don't play games.
Yeah. What do you think? What are a couple things that because I'm in recruiting, you're recruiting, and one of the things I see is like so many mistakes that agents make when they first get their license, or maybe they have their license for 1 year and they're going to another brokerage and they're looking for that next brokerage. What do you think the mistakes they make are when they look for that new brokerage, or what should they be looking for?
Well, we are what I call a full service value-based brokerage. That's our phrase. We're a full service value-based brokerage. And I am a believer that is what is important. Now, not everybody feels that way. There's some agents that desire to just have the highest commission split possible, and that's what they're looking for. Good for them.
Yeah.
It's not, we're very competitive. We're not uncompetitive.
Yeah.
We're competitive, but we value service. We value adding value to the agents' lives so that they can have a good life, both in the business and outside. And I think some agents forget that. And, we've had people leave. When you mentioned new agents, we've had that happen. You get a new agent, they start kicking ass, they get cocky, they leave. And you know how many, every single year we have, every year we get bigger, but 2 to 5 that leave and come back.
Yeah.
It never fails. And we try to tell them, and I've actually had some people, I had one in May. I love her. She's been with us 6 years. She lived in Southern Massachusetts. She moved up to New Hampshire, and I could tell she was getting grumpy. It's just, I don't feel like I'm a part anymore. We don't have an office up here. I got to drive an hour and a half south for an office. I said to her, listen, no hard feelings. You were with us 6 years. You were a huge part of us getting that South Shore office up to the ground. If you feel like you got to move on, go ahead. I wish you luck. I'll help you do it. And I did.
Yeah.
And she moved on, and she called me 6 weeks later and said, can I come back?
Yeah, we are just now experiencing some. We don't have a whole lot leave, but we're just now getting experience. I had an agent leave for 6 months and just came back, a month ago. Yeah. So
and truth be told, it'll help you. I mean, it'll help you. And some people, they just need to realize it. But also, I don't know where you're at with agent count or where you ramp, but I always tell other team leaders and broker owners, the 2, especially the 3 to 4 year mark, that's when agents get itchy.
Yeah.
That's when they join you, they're doing 10 million a year. They're not going to get itchy at the 3 or 4 year mark. But if they are brand new or newer, they join you, they get on leads, they ramp up their business. That 3 to 4 year mark is the delicate spot, and getting them off leads. Dave and I identified probably 4 years ago that we were very good at getting agents on leads and ramped up. We weren't good at getting them off, So that's just another thing that they tackle in lead onboarding day. They say, guys, listen, our goal is to get you off leads eventually. Yeah. When that happens, when you get to that point, you start feeling like you want to get off, tell us. Don't get aggravated. Don't get agitated at the company. Tell us. And if we notice that you should get off, we'll talk to you about it. But the next stage for you is just working those by referral programs, building up your past client database, and working that database to get more business. And they embrace it better now. It's just a mindset. We shifted how we dealt with it, and it made a big difference.
Yeah, and that is so beautiful to hear you say, because you're probably one of the only people, one of like maybe 2 or 3 people I know in the nation that kind of embraces that whole thing. I mean, we had a meeting with 2 agents at the same time 2 weeks ago. One, it was on track for 8 million. The other one's already closed 9 million. One's completely on leads. The other was completely self-sufficient. And the one that's on leads is like, yeah, like you said, Ryan, I'm trying to get off of leads. The other one's just like, yeah, things are starting to slow down. So I think I might want to get back on leads. And I said, listen, don't. You had 9 million closed. Okay. That's up 50% from the year before. I'll get you on leads. It's not a problem. I make more money on when you do my leads, but you have a better opportunity to tap into that database and make the lion's share of that commission by working that wonderful business that you've built up for the last year. That was all she had to say. We coached her on that and she's done.
But so tell that agent to do our working by referral course. You have access to it in our system. We have a whole course in there on working by referral, working your sphere, building your database, being in touch. That agent needs to do that. And that's something that we failed at getting people on 2 years back. Now, when they're 2-3 years into being on leads, we start talking about, hey, the working by referral course runs live twice a year, January and July. And we got better at getting people to take that course, and it really helped. And it'll help you.
That's awesome. Agent. So I got just a couple more questions here. What are some of the mistakes that you've made that that you would advise others to not do?
Well, I just got through talking about a couple of them. Not doing a good job at weaning people off leads.
Yep.
That was a mistake years back. I think that years ago we were just too strict with too many things, and it prohibited our growth.
Like what? Give me an example of that.
For a long time, we had the MLS sales going in our system. We were tougher about kicking agents off leads and not as delicate, and didn't realize how much it, affected them and how they felt that. And, there's just different delicacies that you can have along the way that will help. I mean, whether you like it or not, we are in the people business. In this business, unless you are transacting, unless you are a practitioner working with buyers and sellers, well, even then you're in the people business. But when you're working realtor to realtor, it's business to business relationships. You're in the people business. And it took us a few years to get that. And I think it took the management team a little more time than me. And it took me continuing to push it for them to go over it. I also think that, other mistakes we've made along the way is, not recognizing fast enough when certain advertisements, we're in a very interesting business. Our business is like the weather. As soon as you get used to it, it changes. And we had certain advertising programs that worked over the years that all of a sudden we're like, well, why isn't it working? And then we tweak this and tweak that and try. And it's like, well, sometimes that program is just over. Just move on. The market changes. You can't be running a goddamn guaranteed sale program when the market's this hot. You say, we used to have a program, we guarantee to sell your home in 32 days. And if we don't, we'll sell it for free. Well, now if I say that, sellers are like, well, what are you doing the other 31 days? Like, why is it taking more than a day to sell? So, I'm much more understanding of the market and the market forces and accepting of them than I was years ago.
Yeah. Well, okay. And the final question is, you've had such a huge trajectory doing so many different things. What's next on the horizon for Lamacchia Real Estate?
We're really taking our services to a whole new level. We are very big, as I said, we're a full service value-based brokerage. So we have listing assistants for the agents, buyer assistants. And sometimes when I say that, people with teams of 10 or 20 people, they say, oh, we have that too. Well, try doing it with 400. Like we're doing it at scale now. We have 75 people on staff. We have people that help agents manage their listing from the time they sign it up to the time they close. Their buyer from the time it goes pending to the time it closes. We have a marketing assistance program where we're helping agents post on Facebook on their business page on a weekly basis, send mailers out at least once a month. We have a pre-list service where we have 5 photographers that go out every day in Lamacchia Realty vans. They do pictures, sign, lock blocks, floor plans. All those things I just mentioned, we've been running for the last 5 years. We've gotten really, really good at them in the last 2 to 3. But now we've come out with something else. And this is the first time I'm talking about it on any podcast or anything, but something called Agent Field Services. We nicknamed it Boots. And what we've done is we hired 3 realtors full-time, salary, benefits, bonus, the whole deal. And we bought 3 Kias, and they are out on the road and they are taking orders like Uber from agents who put in a request. I need a showing covered at 3:00 tomorrow, 10 o'clock today, whatever time. Our people on the road, okay, they hit accept. They go, there's introduction emails, connecting buyers, sellers, whoever with our people, covering that showing, covering that open house, covering that home inspection for our realtors. Because, our top agents, they can't show 3 homes to 3 different buyers at one time. So we came out with that, and that has been pretty much a hit. And
That's
we've got
awesome.
3 people working 40, 50 hours a week doing this. By next year at this time, I bet we'll have probably 6 of them. So agent field services is a big thing. I think it's something that, I mean, I have not heard of it. I don't know if you have. I haven't.
No, we've talked about it, and we're not big enough to do it. What we are doing is if we have a new agent, they're required to work 2 months as a showing assistant and then they get paid for it, but it's 2 months as a showing assistant before, as they're going through our onboarding. And then the agent is copying them on a deals with stuff. So they're kind of in the deal a little bit, or at least getting emails on it. But that is awesome.
And we do charge all those services I just mentioned. We charge for.
Yeah.
100%.
They're happy to pay it.
Nothing good in life is free.
Yeah.
So we charge for it, but agents don't care. They need coverage. They need the help. The notion that agents need to work on their own is just crazy. I recently came out with a video that if people log on to realtalkwithanthony.com, they'll see where I talked about my whole story, the story, kind of my vision, the future and goals and things like that. And I talked in there a lot about I've looked at the real estate brokerage business and the way the realtors work as a broken system. That's how I've looked at it. And I'm like, I'm going to fix it and we're going to build it differently. And that's what we've done. And so far we're successful. We'll see.
That's awesome, dude. Well, I am super pumped. I have to tell you, I was looking at my calendar and Tahoe was not looking good for reasons of scheduling and getting there. But I'm going to take a second look because I'm just pumped up right now to come see you speak. So.
Well, check out that realtalkwithanthony.com. And
that's what I was going to ask you. Where, if people are listening, where can they find you? Where all your good stuff? Where do they find that?
The fastest, most convenient way for other realtors across North America to find me is just look up Crush It in Real Estate on Facebook, on YouTube. You'll see videos I do on there all the time. And, that's the best way for people to reach me. They can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at AJL Lamacchia. And they'll find me there.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you, my friend. Looking forward to having a beer with you in a couple of weeks, and see you next time.
Hey, we just got through talking about the value of seeing coworkers and colleagues and friends around the country. Come to Tahoe. I'll be speaking there for more than an hour. I'm going to go over everything. I want to see you.
All right, buddy. Sounds good, man.
I'll see you then.
See ya.